Welcome to the third installment of Fred and Leah. I hope you can hear me over the noise of Sao Paulo outside and that my cat, who is just here out of shot, doesn't interrupt. Monday, December the 25th, 1939, Dame Dorothy Street, Monk, Weymouth, England. Leah, her sisters Beatty, Bessie, and Rebecca, and Bessie's daughter Audrey were tripping over each other in the tiny kitchen. Look at you! Well on your way to starting your own family, Bessie told Leah as they prepared the dinner together. Before you know it, Jim and the little one inside you will be having families of their own and spending Christmas with them. Give over, said Leah. Let me give birth to this one first. Well, look at Dad, said Bessie. 4 of his boys are married off and spending Christmas with their wives and families. Well, they wouldn't all fit in here if they hadn't, said Leah. That's not the point, said Bessie. Look at Audrey here. Before I know it, she'll be married off and spending Christmas somewhere else. That's how it starts. Stop it, Mum, Audrey complained. It would have been nice if Fred and Tom had made it back for Christmas, said Leah, finding herself getting emotional. Don't worry, pet. Bessie placed her hand on her arm. I'm sure you'll be together soon. Bessie had become the matriarch of the family since their mum had died, and Leah could rely on her for the advice she used to get from her mother. He promised he'd be back for Christmas, she said, as tears welled up in her eyes. But now they're saying the war can last for 3 years. But it's not up to him, is it, love? Why did I have to go and marry a military man? Wouldn't have made a difference if you hadn't. Look at Tom. He's been sent overseas. So it wouldn't have made a difference who you married. They're all getting sent overseas. Leah grimaced. You all right, love? Bessie asked. Yes, it's just a heartburn. It's terrible. Do you mind if I sit for a moment? Bessie grabbed a small good stool from the scullery. Here you go, love. Does sitting help with the acid? Not really, said Leah. It's my ankles. I just need to take the weight off them for a bit. Oh, yes, they are swollen, aren't they? Said Bessie, investigating. Oh, listen to this one. This one's my favourite. Bessie pointed in the air, in the direction of the wires, which was playing Christmas carols in the back room. Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. Round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Is this what I've got to look forward to in 3 months? Said Beatty, looking at Leah perched on the stool. It wasn't as bad with Jim, said Leah. I seem to be getting everything with this one. I had terrible morning sickness for the first couple of months. What's he doing away in France anyway? Leah complained. Nothing has happened since war was declared. Quite a few boats have been sunk, Bessie reminded her. That one off the coast of Scotland. That was tragic, that was. Worse things happen at sea, Leah mumbled. What, dear? Oh, nothing, Bessie. Just something Fred was always fond of telling me. Leah started humming a tune, but not the one on the wires. Too many tears. Each night I go to bed, I lay awake and shed too many tears. Your memory is bringing me too many tears. What's that, love? Oh, it's been going around in my head for days. I don't seem to be able to dislodge it. Bert Ambrose and his orchestra. He was very popular when I met Fred, when I was working in the Naffy in Leeds. Listen, love, Bessie said, even if Fred were here, he'd be down the pub with the rest of the men, and you'd be stuck here making dinner with us girls, keeping 9 children at bay. Leah laughed. Yes, you're right, she said. Audrey, get your aunt a cup of tea, will you, love? Audrey was already 12 and helped in the kitchen with her aunts. Joe and Rebecca were both 9, so could be put to work setting the table. At 8, Ray was not interested in helping out and preferred to play with his 5-year-old sister Lydia, who conspired with him in bossing around the toddlers, Bill, who was 3, and Leah's Jim, who was still only 2. Ray and Lydia were preparing their own pretend Christmas dinner and making young Bill and Jim do all the work. Leah thought it a blessing that their children hadn't been evacuated. So many from the city had, although there was talk of all the evacuated children coming back in the new year. It reminded Leah of something she had read in Lady magazine about not letting this be a winter of discontent by keeping Christmas for the children's sake. The government was already planning to introduce rationing. In fact, petrol was already rationed, so they should enjoy this Christmas while they had the chance. It might be the last decent Christmas they had for a while. This war seemed to be taking its time. Jim was demanding Leah's attention. What is it? She asked, noticing the irritation creeping into her voice. She knew she felt stressed. Bessie had bought her a bottle of Sanatogen for Christmas to help win her war on nerves. It was not difficult to feel stressed, Leah thought, with the blackout and everything. It wasn't safe to cross the road after dark anymore. Many people had been knocked down, and if the cars didn't get you, the ice would. Jim was there asking for attention again. She knew it wasn't his fault, but she couldn't help feeling irritated that he wouldn't let her get on with what she was doing. Friday, 8th of March, 1940, Monkwearmouth, England. Oops, sorry, I've missed a bit. Skipped a few pages. She sat in a chair, feeling bloated. She had eaten too much, but why not? Who knew when they would get a chance to celebrate Christmas like this again? Joe was doing impressions of Lord Haw-Haw, which were quite good and made her laugh. She remembered that last night she had dreamt she was back in Leeds with Fred at the Naffy. Talk of the war always filled the days, and she was glad that at least she dreamt of other things. She wished she could be like her new neighbour, Mrs. Pearson, who lived next door to the small terrace they'd rented near the docks. Mrs. Pearson put all their faith in God. Leah could hear her listening to religious services on the wireless at all hours, and she would tell Leah that she was praying for God to strike Hitler dead. Leah wished she could bombard God with all her requests and thought that if God wanted to kill Hitler, he wouldn't wait until Mrs. Pearson asked him. Tuesday, December the 26th, 1939, Monkwearmouth, England. Leah was startled at first when the front door opened. She thought that maybe the wind had blown it open and grumbled to herself as she went to close it. But when she entered the hall, she stopped and gasped in amazement at Fred, who was just crossing the threshold. She cleaned her hands on her pinny while he dropped his kit bag and went to embrace her. You're huge, he said, looking at the mound where her belly used to be. Thanks, she joked. Nice to see you too. She smoothed down her pinny over her belly, self-conscious about how large it had become. I suppose I can't look very attractive to you at the moment, she said. No, he responded with haste. You look radiant, she asked with sarcasm. He smiled and nodded. I've missed you, he said. How long are you back for? She asked, unsure about whether she wanted to know the answer. I'm not sure yet, he said. I've been transferred to the 7th at Gosforth Park. They want me to help to train reservists and conscripts. I haven't been told if or when we're returning to France. I hope you never go back, Leah said, tightening her embrace. Fred smiled. He had no desire to return to France either, but he thought the chances of being able to stay in Sunderland were very slim. He hoped his superiors would delay his return to the Maginot Line long enough for him to be around when his child arrived. Leah slapped him on the arm. What was that for? He demanded. You said you'd be back for Christmas, she complained. He laughed. I came as quickly as I could, he said, reaching into his pocket for his wood bands. You haven't given up smoking then? She teased him. No, but I should. This packet cost me 7p. Friday the 8th of March, 1940, Monk, England. Come on, Jim, put down that stick. Jim dropped the stick and ran to catch up with his father. What were you doing with it? Fred asked him. I was hunting lions, Jim said with pride. Come on. His father laughed and led him by the hand into his father-in-law's, James' grocery shop. Fred waited while James finished serving a customer, a short, old woman in a raincoat and a headscarf. The co-op didn't have any marmalade either, she was saying. And do you know what they told me? They said they would sell me a pound of lard, and if I wanted more, I would have to buy compound. The man behind the counter claimed it looked almost the same, but do you know what? It's a mix of cottonseed oil and animal fat. I mean, how am I expected to cook with cottonseed oil? James nodded at the old woman recounting her words. You're very patient, said Fred once the old woman had left. I have to be nice, he said. With all the evacuees, we've lost so much business. We have to be nice to the customers we have. Any news? Fred asked. Nothing. James shook his head. I'll let you know as soon as we get a call. All right, said Fred, resigned to having to wait long to find out whether their new baby would be a boy or a girl. Did you hear about Mrs. Holmes? Asked James. Mrs. Holmes? You know, she used to teach at St. Bennett's. Fred pretended to remember, but couldn't. She was found dead on Roker Beach. Fred raised his eyebrows. He might not have known the woman, but it was still a terrible thing. She lived with her invalid sister, said James. She always seemed very nervy. She had a nervous breakdown last year. I saw her last Thursday. We laughed and joked together. Now she's dead. Her poor brain must have snapped. You don't think